Hi everyone, my name is Cassie and I'm here at the Urban Farming Institute in Oakland Park, Florida with our next episode in our Act Now series, Nourishing Ourselves Holistically, where we talk about a variety of different healthy habits for healthy living, including gardening, nutrition, stress management, physical activity, and today we're going to talk about storing produce. So what is your favorite way to store produce? Or do you get stuff directly from the grocery store, your local farmer's market? Depending on where you get it from, we still want to store it the same way. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about some tips for your actual refrigerator and how we want to keep our refrigerator so you make sure that everything is staying fresh. So the first thing we want to talk about is making sure that you're keeping the temperature at 40 degrees. This is the optimal temperature to slow the growth of bacteria that's known to cause food spoilage. The next thing is you don't want to overload your refrigerator. So how many of us, including myself, are known for just kind of jamming stuff in that refrigerator? We really don't want to do that. We want to make sure that there's ample space for the cool air to circulate all through. That way everything in the refrigerator can get cold. So this leads us to our next refrigerator tip, and that's to clean out your refrigerator. So the goal is to clean it out once a week. And that means, going through things, looking at the dates, seeing what's old, what needs to be tossed, getting rid of those leftovers, maybe not keeping that one bite. I know I do that all the time. Like, it's just one bite, I'm going to keep it. What are you, known for keeping in your fridge? And then also where we store things. So we want our raw meat to be on the lowest shelf. We want to try to keep our ready-to-eat items away from our raw items. And then we also want to keep our produce in the crisper drawer if we have one. And if we don't, that's okay. We'll talk about some other tips or ways that you can store your produce. So now that we've talked about how to organize your refrigerator, let's talk about specific tips for different types of produce or food items. So the first thing I want to talk about is eggs. So how many of you have an egg drawer or tray in your refrigerator? I know they're really nice, but actually your eggs do better in the carton that they come from. So this is why we want to leave our eggs in the carton that they come from and not store them on the egg shelf. The next thing I want to talk about, and this was something that I learned, is that there are certain items from produce that actually do better on the shelf. And so these are going to be items like your tomato, your onion, and even your potatoes. So those items do better stored in a cool, dark, shaded area. So that could be in your cabinet, maybe in the back on your countertop somewhere, but not in the refrigerator. Other items that are going to be okay until ripe, or you can leave them on your shelf until they're ready to be ripened, and then you can put them in the refrigerator, are items with a pit. So this could be a peach, or an avocado. Bananas are another one that also do better on the counter. In fact, if you break them apart, they will actually last a little bit longer. So now that we've talked about how to organize your refrigerator and some of the items that don't need to be refrigerated, let's talk about the stuff that does go in the refrigerator. So those are going to be things like kiwis, cantaloupe once they're ripened, as well as our greens, cucumbers, broccoli, cauliflower, even carrots. But did you know that there's even a strategy to how you store your produce that can ensure the ripeness for a little bit longer? So we're going to talk about ethylene producing and ethylene sensitive produce. So ethylene is a gas that is emitted by our produce. Bananas are actually the most famous for this. But you want to make sure that you keep these types of produce away from the ethylene sensitive. So some of our ethylene emitting produce is going to be our avocados, our apples, our cantaloupes, even our tomatoes. So some of which, as we know, might not start out in the refrigerator, but once you put them in there, you want to make sure that you're keeping them away from our ethylene sensitive produce, which is going to be our greens, some of our carrots. That way our greens and carrots can stay fresh for the longest amount of time possible. The next thing I want to talk about is berries, which normally come in a container like this or maybe a plastic container. Berries do not like moisture. So the first thing that you should do when you get home is take them out of the container that they come in and put them in a dry container, preferably glass, but if you have plastic, that's okay. Yes, you should be washing your produce, but as I mentioned, berries do not like moisture, so you actually want to wait to wash your berries until before you eat them. With our greens, it's the same thing. If you are going to wash your greens ahead of time, make sure you dry them really well. This goes for our salad greens as well as our herbs. And once we dry them, you want to put them in an airtight bag. And you actually want to leave a little bit of air in the bag. Make sure they're very dry. If you're not putting them in an airtight bag, you can put them in a bowl with a paper towel on top and put some saran wrap over it as well. Last but not least, we always want to wash our produce as we mentioned, but remember, you don't want to cut your produce until it's ready to use. This will ensure that it stays fresh a little bit longer. You want to make sure you're always storing your pre-cut items. So this might be the fruit bowl that you got from the grocery store. That goes right into the refrigerator right away. And then if you can, keep your vegetables in that crisper drawer. As I mentioned, if you don't have it, these are some tips that you can use to keep your produce fresh a little bit longer. Once again, another great tool is the produce bags, but if you don't have them, that's okay. Just use these tips to help you organize your refrigerator and store your produce. Remember guys, this is another episode of our Act Now series, so if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our video series, like us on Facebook, and leave us a comment. Tell us, what are your tricks and hacks for storing produce? What did you do, or what were you taught about this? Or did you learn something different? Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. I'm Cassie here at the Urban Farming Institute in Oakland Park, Florida. Thanks for watching.